Ha! I'm a giant Pokeball in this one, it seems. It's funny. Hi everybody, how you doing? Tekking and Barry here today, and to give you a little bit of a weather update here in west central Pennsylvania, it is raining, it is cold, and it is very windy outside right now, which is the standard weather for like half of the year, to be honest with you. But on days like today, where I'm inside and can't really do much of anything, I decided to, why not continue this series, right? Because I guess we're just making it a series now, right? The last time we did this, we went through the original 151 Pokemon. I'm just talking about them here, you know, going over which ones I liked, which ones were and which ones I didn't like. Not doing a ranking system or a tier list or anything. We're just talking Pokemon. A lot of people commented on the last one telling me what their favorite Pokemons were. You know, it seemed to have a good reception, so I figured why not continue it, really. And I also got this giant Pokeball hoodie out of my closet. A fan sent this to me like years ago. I think I was trying to do some kind of Pokemon music video, if memory serves. I don't know if I was going to like redo the Poke Rap or I was going to do something else. I don't know. I had some idea and it just never manifested, but I do love the giant oversized Pokeball hoodie, so thank you for that. And it's very cozy on a day like today, very particularly. I hope you're all out there wearing giant oversized Pokeball hoodies in some fashion. Okay, that would just be splendid. Okay, so today we're gonna go through the 100 Pokemon of the Johto region. That is right, Generation 2, my personal favorite generation, and let's be honest here, the greatest generation in all of Pokemon, and I dare you to say otherwise. Back in my day, we only had 5 Eeveelutions, and that's all we needed. Umbreon and Espeon were the last and the best, you know. Alright, I guess Glaceon was alright, but Leafeon, it just has a leaf on its head. I don't really get what it's trying to be. It's just a evolution with a leaf on its head. Okay, so, yeah, let's just dive right into it. Why not? Oh, yeah, I have to introduce my new Pokemon team, of course. So last time I had a Pokemon team of, like, Ladybug, the giant shark, and I think I had a Dice that I named Dice, and it was an ice type, because that's clever. But of course, like Ash, you know, after he, you know, finishes off one league, he has to dump all of his Pokemon off at Professor Oak's and just never see them again. He keeps his Pikachu, so we'll keep Barry, which, as I aforementionedly stated in the last episode, contains every single type of Pokemon imaginable, plus a bunch that haven't even been discovered yet, so he is the ultimate Mon. But we have some other Pokemon here, so let's look here. Alright, so first, well, we have this frog, this like shaggy frog, which I'll just name Shrog, and he's a grass water type, so that's pretty cool. Shrog! Okay, that's Shrog right there. Okay, cool. We also didn't have a fire type last time, so here we have a very precariously placed fire flower from Super Mario Brothers, another Nintendo property, but it's clearly a tulip, I think, if I know my flowers. So let's just go with, let's see, a fire tulip. Fruilip! It's a Fruilip, okay, and it's going to be a fire grass type. So we're really bringing the grass types this time around. You cannot have enough grass types. That's pretty much what it is. You know, Erica was correct. There's a reason Erica is the strongest gym leader in all of Gen 1 and why so many people just smashed their Game Boys when they got to freaking Celadon. There was a reason you just couldn't make it past her, you know? Alright, so what's next? We have a ghost type. Okay, this looks even too stupid for a joke. Okay, so anyway, what's up? Oh, okay, we got a llama. We got a llama, or maybe it's an alpaca. I don't know. Lapaca. It's a Lapaca, and I think... You know what? I don't think we had any normal types last time. Let's just go. You need a good normal type to kind of ground your team. I mean, not a ground type, but like an actual, just a normal type to be like, hey, you know, I throw some love out to the normal Pokemon. You know, they're not boring. They're pretty cool. You know, ghosts can't hit them. You bring a Haunter to a Lapaca fight, the Lapaca's gonna win. Yeah, okay, so Lapaca's gonna go up here. There you go. What else? Okay, so this is totally not from the Black Clover discussion series. We got a cow skull, so it's gonna be a ghost rock type, obviously. A ghost rock type, let's, well, cows are also bovines, so let's go with Skullvine. Kind of sounds like it should be a grass type, but no, it's a ghost rock type. Skullvine! Woo! And it just kind of floats around with a ghostly aura and shoots shadow balls out of its eye sockets. So, Skullvine, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have 5. Okay, we need one more. We didn't have an electric type last time either, and I think we had a Celebi, so we have to have at least one normal Pokemon. And of course, I'm going to go with the time and true Fappy. or Ampharos. Whenever I did my Pokemon Nuzlocke, we always ended up catching a freaking Ampharos at some point, and we always named it Fappy. So I think we're up to like Fappy the 4th. Okay, so there we go. All right, so yeah, I think this is a pretty solid team here. We got an electric, that's fine, let's just roll with that. We got an electric type, we got a ghost rock, we got an all type, we got a fire grass, water grass, and a normal. There you go, we're ready to take on Johto. Nothing can stop us. All right, so yeah, it's a brand new world with a brand new attitude. Let's get going. All right, let's pull up the little poster here. All right, starting off with Chickarita. Never cared much for Chickarita. I remember there was like a little running gag in the anime with Chickarita, which every time Ash sent Chickarita out, Chickarita would instead just like cuddle up to Ash because like really liked Ash. It kind of got boring after a while. I kind of got annoyed like every time sent out Chickarita, it did the same shtick over and over and over again. So I'm like, all right, and I never played as Chickarita. I don't think I ever had it as my starter, so I'm sorry, Chickarita. Bayleaf, okay, Bayleaf looks cooler than Chickarita, so that's cool, like the natural progression, like it has seeds on its neck and the seeds are beginning to sprout, so that's neat. I like the idea that the leaf on its head now looks like it had like a bite taken out of it. It just made the idea of like a razor leaf cooler. I will give that to Chickarita's line. The razor leaf concept and magical leaf, I guess later, would make more sense because it's literally just a giant leaf on its head that it just like swings its head. You know, I wave my leaf back and forth and just sends out a giant leaf blade to like shred an enemy, so that's pretty cool. And magnanium, whatever. You know, it's like a dinosaur with a flower. I watched Team 4 Star's run of Soul Silver, and they had Mr. Steak, and I remember that's probably the most famous, you know, Chickarita line that I remember personally, but didn't really care much for Chickarita in Generation 2. But Cyndaquil, on the other hand, alright, so I didn't fall for the Charmander supremacy. I usually went with Squirrel. I went with Charmander a few times. Everybody was always talking about Charmander, though, in Gen 1, like, Charizard is the coolest, you know, it's a fire dragon, can't get much cooler than that. Alright, well, I'll tell you right now, Cyndaquil is a hedgehog, I think? I don't know. An anteater? It kind of has the face. I don't know what animal it's based off of, but it's badass. That's all that's cool. It's got freaking vents on its back that just erupts flames. I was instantly smitten with freaking Cyndaquil, okay? And so I got Cyndaquil, Pokemon Gold, my first ever Pokemon game I ever got, named him Blaze, and I looked all over for Gold just now for this video. I couldn't find it, but I still do have it, and a couple of months back, I remember loading up my cartridge, and the battery didn't die. It still had my save file, so Blaze was still there waiting for me. So yeah, I raised, I think Blaze might have been my first Pokemon I ever got to level 100, because it was the first Pokemon game I ever had, and I played the crap out of Gold. So yeah, Cyndaquil was awesome. Quilava, you know what, honestly, I might like Quilava more than Typhlosion. I know that's a stupid thing to say, but I like the fact that, yeah, Cyndaquil had the fire on his back, Typhlosion had like the fire around its neck. I like the idea that Quilava had the fire on top of its head, sort of like a mohawk, and also the fire as a tail. So it went from the back to the head, and then the tail, and then just back to the neck again with Typhlosion. Maybe Typhlosion could erupt the fire on its head. I don't remember that or anything. I just remembered it as like a fire collar. But Quilava was pretty sweet. I think I probably like Quilava out of the most out of Cyndaquil's line. And then finally, Typhlosion, which it's Typhlosion. And I remember in Gen 2, you could teach Typhlosion the element punches, because I think you could buy the element punches at the mall in Goldenrod, and I think later on in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, they took them away in future generations, so you couldn't buy them there, because I think that's a little bit broken. But yeah, I remember teaching Thunder Punch or whatever to Typhlosion, BAM! And so it's like lightning, fire, dragon slayer magic. It was pretty cool, right? But let's not overlook Totodile here, okay? Because I've played Gold. I had my original cartridge, but then I also had Heart Gold, and I replayed that a few times, and I played it on emulators. I played Totodile. I picked him quite a few times as well. Totodile's pretty sweet. Croconaw is kind of just like the chubby version of Totodile. So Totodile's this really energetic gator. It's just like, I'm gonna bite you, and then you get to Croconaw that's like, I might get to it at some point. Oh, okay. And then, but then you get to Feraligatr, and I'm like, alright, you know, we go Totodile, Croconaw's like, but then Feraligatr, holy shit, right? Like, yeah, it's a giant, like, alien gator. I love the pink and the blue. I think it works splendid on him. I think the shiny is green, which makes it even cooler. But yeah, Feraligatr, like, there's a lot of Pokemon that, like, look like genuinely threatening. Like, you would not want to run into, like, a Charizard just walking down the street and then a Charizard comes up or something like that, right? But when it comes to a freaking Feraligatr, if I'm like walking next to a pond or something and this thing pops out, I'm like gonna be running screaming in the opposite direction, but also just, you know, admiring how cool it looks, okay? But yeah, this thing is absolutely terrifying. I loved, I think it can learn Crunch, right? I'm pretty sure. I think you can teach it Crunch when it's a Croconaw, is when I taught it Crunch. And then just the idea of like this thing like biting into you using Crunch is just, ugh. But yeah, I really like Feraligatr. I would probably say, yeah, Cyndaquil is my favorite, but Totodile, very, very close second. Like, Cyndaquil's here, Totodile's line is here, and, you know, Chikorita's, like, way down here. So, sorry, Chikorita fans. All right, Sentret. Okay, so Sentret is, like, pretty boring. Like, I think more boring than Rattata or Pidgey. You know, as for the first few rodents that you find in the game, Sentret, I remember just, like, after seeing 2 or 3 of them in the wild, I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And I know, I mean, like, it has its original design. It's, like, you know, hopping around on its tail. I mean, I guess that's cute, I guess, but I just never really caught one. And then we have Furret, which, maybe Furret was the... Wait, is it Ferret or Furret? It has to be Furret. It can't be Ferret. That's, like, a literal animal is Ferret. So, Furret, I guess. Okay. Maybe that's the reason, because Furret, like, it's one thing if you catch a Sentret, and it's like, okay, the Sentret's pretty boring, but at least it evolves into something cool. And then I just saw Sentret and then evolving into Furret, and I'm just like, Furret is even less interesting than Sentret. It has at least, like, interesting design. It's basically just a ferret, a striped ferret. That's it. And I'm just like, I could be catching some other really cool Pokemon here, so sorry, Sentret and Furret fans, I'm not a fan. But Hoothoot, on the other hand, Hoothoot is the reason I started this game at night. I mean, it was pretty cool, the whole, you know, morning, day, night cycle in the games, and I always started the games at night whenever I had the opportunity. I started it, like, dead at, like, in the middle of, like midnight, 1 o'clock. Like, you know, I just wake up one day, and I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna go out to start catching, I'm starting my Pokemon journey. It's like 12:30 at night. It's just like, too bad, I'm going. It's the best time to get started. Just wander off into the dark woods alone. That's when you know you're a true Pokemon master, okay? And so Hoothoot, I always caught a Hoothoot. I kept Noctowl. Noctowl is, like, probably top 5 Pokemon from Johto for me, okay? I love owls. They are so damn cool. They are, like, the kings of the bird realm, and they know it, alright? They know how awesome they are, okay? Can you think of a single bird cooler than a freaking owl? I mean, maybe penguins, okay? But, you know, owls can fly, so, yeah, I know. They know it. They know they're the kings on top of the perch, okay? And so, yeah, you know, Noctowl. I remember Ash caught a shiny Noctowl in the anime, so that was cool. I was so happy when Ash caught a Noctowl. I'm just like, man, okay, because this was like one of my first favorite Pokemons. And I remember I played Gold first. I didn't have Red yet. So I'm like, man, this is cool. Like, a Pokemon I have in the game is getting some action in the anime. That's freaking phenomenal. I loved it. So we're not doing tier lists or anything here, but like double S rating, 100 out of 100, you know, 12 out of 10. That's freaking Noctowl right there. Hoothoot's pretty cool too. I like the fact that Hoothoot, okay, does Hoothoot have 2 legs that he just keeps together so it looks like one leg, or is it just like hopping around on one leg? Both of those ideas sound interesting, but I always just thought it was just one leg. So I don't know. It might be 2 together. I don't know. All right, Ladybug and Ladyin. Okay, so Ladybug, it was just all right to me. Was Ladybug available in Gold? I don't remember ever catching a Ladybug. And Ladybug is not interesting enough, but like Ladyin is definitely cool enough that I probably would have caught one if it was available. Anyway, Ladybug kind of reminds me, you know how like old Disney cartoon characters always had like white gloves, like Mickey Mouse always wore like white gloves for some reason. So Ladybug kind of looks like that. It's like a Disney cartoon ladybug if it was designed back in like the 30s, okay? And so it would just be a ladybug with eyes and a mouth and then like white gloves for hands, okay? They also kind of look like boxing gloves to me. Like if you piss off a ladybug, it'll just like wreck your day with like 6 fists. And then of course it evolves into Ladyin, which I always thought Ladyin just looked like a freaking superhero, like Kamen Rider or something. Like, that might be the actual design basis for it. But yeah, Ladyin is cool. I just don't remember ever catching one, so I might not have been available in Gold, or if it was, I guess I never caught one, but, you know, it is cool. I like the design of Ladyin. So then we have Spinarak and Ariados. Okay, I love spiders. Just the other day, I was down cleaning out my basement, and we found this. It's not a green spider. I think it's just the trick of the light. I shared this on my Twitter. Sorry, by the way, anybody out there that has arachnophobia. You're like, Jesus, Tekking, why? Why did you just show that out of nowhere? But no. Apologies. But yeah, I think it was just like I used a giant like spotlight to like take a picture of it, and I think it's just the way the light hit it. It was on like a pink like sheet or something, because I don't think this spider was green. But at any rate, it's a wolf spider, and they don't spin webs, and it was just hunting for, other bugs and stuff in our basement. So I'm like, rock on, wolf spider. I called it Aragog, and just, you don't mess with it, it won't mess with you. But I like spiders, okay? And so for that reason, the first spider Pokemon that have ever existed, Spinarak and Ariados, have a special place in my heart. Spinarak is cool enough. I like the design on its body, which is indicative of a lot of like insects and arachnids. They'll have like markings on their body to like indicate that, hey, I'm dangerous or I'm poisonous. So like Black Widows, of course, have like the red hourglass shape, but also with Spinarak, you have a literal face. So like a Pokemon would be coming up from behind to try to eat Spinarak, and you'd see the face and it'd be like, whoa, I gotta get the hell out of here. Okay, this thing's kind of dangerous. Okay, so Spinarak's cool enough, plus it has a little horn on its head. But then Ariados is just sweet. I don't think Ariados is as big as I thought it was when I was a kid. I always imagined Ariados was like a literal giant spider. Like you could literally hop on it and ride it like a steed or something like that, right? But no, I don't think it's that big. I think if you look up the actual length or whatever for Ariados, it's probably only like 1 or 2 feet. So like a 2-foot tall spider, that's nothing. But no, I always picture Ariados as like 7 feet tall, and you can ride it like a damn warhorse. Okay, war spiders to battle. So yeah, Ariados is pretty sweet. I love these Pokemon. I love this. Gen 1 was good enough, and I always loved watching the Indigo League and everything growing up, but these Pokemon were the first Pokemon I ever really, I caught in the game. I actually got to experience the game with, so this is bringing back so much nostalgia. I love all of these guys for the most part. Coming up next, Crobat. Alright, so when they introduced the idea of evolving Pokemon through friendship in Generation 2, for some reason as a kid, I just assumed that it was too much work, and I never did it. Because I never understood the idea of, like, how does friendship level up? Because I don't think there's anybody in the game. Somebody will probably correct me on this. There probably is somebody, some NPC at some point that says, like, you can only evolve your Pokemon sometimes if you become friends with them. I don't know. But, friendship can level up simply just by walking with the Pokemon a lot. And I never knew that growing up. Nobody ever told me, none of my friends ever told me how it worked, so I just never understood. And keep in mind, this was the year, I was 8 years old when I got Pokemon Gold, my 8th birthday party, so this was in 2001. So 2001, we don't have internet, I have no idea how this shit works, and so it's just like, Crobat always looked cool to me when I looked at it in the books and stuff, and I saw it in the anime, but I'm like, oh man, I guess I can never get one, because you have to do stuff that I don't understand. So all I had to do was catch a damn Golbat, keep it in front of my party, and just like ride the bike a lot with it. It's easier in the emulators, because I just use the speed up function to just like... Congratulations, your Golbat arrived into a Crobat. Oh, that's awesome. And then max out friendship. There you go, done. So I could have done that. It would just taken a lot longer. Might have just been my impatience as a kid. I don't want to, waste that much time. I'm trying to become the Pokemon master here. I can't, waste my time to get a Crobat. I wish I would have, though, because Crobat, fast as hell. I think the only faster Pokemon at this point was Electrode, right? I think Electrode was still consistently the fastest, but Crobat, wicked fast. It could, like, break, like, multiple sound barriers, okay? So, whenever I play Pokemon on, like, a, Gen 2 emulator or whatever, I always try to catch a Golbat and then a Crobat at some point. Crobats are always pretty damn sweet. Moving on to Chinchou and Lantern. Okay, I always like these guys too. Just the idea of having what seems like conflicting types, so water and electric, but it makes sense because they're like, they're like fisher Pokemon. They have like the lures in front of like the angler fish and everything like that. So that seems cool. It makes sense. And then also you understand like there's like electric eels and stuff that generate electricity. I believe there was an electric eel Pokemon later on down the line. I think Gen 4 introduced that, but I'm not sure. Gen 2, by the way, this is probably going to be the one episode that I know the most, and even then, probably not a lot. I'm just going off my memory here, as always. But when we start getting into Gen 3, and then especially Gen 4, because I did not play Gen 4 when it came out. That's when I kind of just put off Pokemon for a while. So it'll be, I don't know if you want me to continue this. I can maybe do Hoenn, but, after this, it's not going to be all downhill from here. But anyway, yeah, Chinchou and Lantern were cool, and you could catch them. He's like, oh, it's a water type, but it's also, electric isn't strong against it because of its dual typing. So that was probably one of the first Pokemon that made me realize that in the game. Like, oh, I can just catch a Chinchou and then a Lantern eventually, and then, you know, I can throw them out for electric types and it's fine. You know, so that's cool there. I don't think they have anything that can really be super effective. And like, if it threw out like a Pikachu and I threw out Lantern, you know, nothing that it can really do against me, nothing I can really do against it. I think this is where the random knowledge comes from. I think in the game, I don't remember which game, if it was Gen 2 or Gen 3 or later on, there was a trainer you had to fight against, I think in Victory Road, that had an illegal Lantern that knew, like, Earthquake or some shit. I think that was in one of the games. There's the random trivia bubbling up to the surface here, okay? But yeah, Chinchou and Lantern, definitely a fan of those guys. Okay, so Pichu's next, but let's just do all the baby Pokemon in a row. So we have Pichu, Cleffa, and Igglybuff, I think. Yeah, okay, so I never did the breeding aspect of Gen 2 either. Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't do the friendship evolution thing, and I also didn't do the breeding, which was introduced in Gen 2 as well. I didn't really take full advantage of Generation 2. Well, I was like 8 when I was playing it. All I cared about, catch Pokemon, evolve Pokemon fast, get stronger Pokemon, dump all useless moves, status effect moves, whatever. Sword stance? Who needs that? Freaking agility. What does agility do? Agility does nothing. Get it out of there. We need psychic. You know, a real psychic move. So I never cared about the daycare. I just used the daycare as like, throw my Pokemon in the daycare and then maybe they'll level up without me trying and then I'll come back and pick them up and they'll be stronger. I did get a little confused whenever I would drop off 2 incompatible Pokemon and they would give me the message like, your Pokemon aren't really getting along together. I'd be like, who gives a shit? I don't care. Did they level up? Okay, cool, great. Welcome back, guys. Let's go. So I never really looked into it too much. I guess I could have gotten a Pichu if I really, really wanted a Pichu, but I didn't really want a Pichu, so it's a moot point. Baby Pokemon, I mean, like, it really just does seem like, okay, Gen 1 comes out, right? And then Pokemon takes the world by storm, okay? And they're like, holy crap, everybody's going crazy over these freaking Pokemans, okay? These legitimate Pokemon, like, Shrog, like Shrog right here. Yeah, Shrog, you know? So they're like, we need to make them even, you know, more marketable, okay? So let's make them chibi and make their eyes huge. The public won't be able to resist their adorableness. And so then Pokemon, baby Pokemon were introduced. My friend Casey really likes Munchlax. I think Munchlax is cool, whatever, but, you know, I've never really cared for them in the games. I know they got a little bit more complicated later with, like, the incense items and all that, but eh. Alright, so moving on to Togepi, who Togepi's kind of a baby Pokemon. Togepi's kind of the original because he got introduced in the Indigo League in Gen 1, okay? So, I remember getting the egg at the beginning of Pokemon, of Mr. Pokemon gives you the egg, and it's like, oh, cool, an egg, what could it be? It could be anything. And then right around the time you get to, I think it was like Azalea Town or Goldenrod for me, that's when the Pokemon, the egg hatched, and he's like, oh, what's it gonna be? Togepi! What does it do? Well, it's an egg. Okay, Togepi, in the box with you, and forever you shall stay in that box. Could have evolved it into, Toga, not Togetic. Togetic is later. Togetic, not Togekiss comes later. There we go. There we go. I had a thinking moment here. Yeah, this is the generation I know the most about, of course, right? Togetic and then Togekiss. Okay, I got you. All right, okay. But anyway, yeah, they're fairy types now, too, because of the typing that was later introduced. But at this point, I think they were just normal, right? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, never had Togetic, so I never really I think I got it in an emulation once, but I never actually had it in the game when I was a kid. Metronome's always cool, and Togetic can use Metronome, and I always thought Metronome was such a cool move, but all the Pokemon that can learn it, like, I never cared for, like, Clefairy's line or anything like that, or Clefable or anything, so I didn't really keep them around very often. So yeah, sorry, Togepi, you just went in the box and never used you again. Alright, what's next? Oh, Natu and Xatu. Gotta be honest with you, I was interested in Xatu just for the fact its name started with the letter X, okay? And X is, like, one of the coolest letters of the alphabet, next to Z, of course, or Z if you're somewhere else in the world that pronounces it Z, which I think is the cooler pronunciation than Z. What was I talking about again? Okay, Natu and Xatu, right. Psychic Burbs. Alright, so, they're Psychic Burbs. I like the fact that Natu is basically just a ball. He's just like a ball with little stubby wings and a feather coming out of him, like, Natu. And then I like that the sound effects in the game is pretty cool, like, And I'm like, all right, that's cool. It's kind of like trippy, kind of like psychedelic, which makes sense. I think I had a Xatu a few times. A psychic burb. You can always have a psychic burb around. They're okay. Then we get to Mareep's line, which every time I do a Nuzlocke or any kind of randomized sort of thing, at some point or another, I always end up catching a freaking Mareep, even in the randomized. It always pops up at some point. So we got Mareep, and then we got Flaffy, and then we got Ampharos, which as a kid I could never pronounce. I'm just like, okay, it goes Mareep. Yeah, I get it. It's a sheep, Mareep, and then Flaffy. It's like fluffy, Flaffy, and then Ampharos. Like, what is? I don't even know where this. To this day, I still don't know. I mean, I could look up the etymology, but I just don't. So anyway, I love Ampharos though. It's a giant like sheep human with a ball on its tail, and it like just charges up electricity and just shocks you. And our trusty Fappy over here has made us through many runs. I think he dies in every single one, but he tries his best, and that's all that counts, right? That counts for more than just being a standard electric Pokemon. All right, so anyway, yeah, I like Mareep's line, good solid electric typing. If I had to choose between like Pikachu's line or Mareep's, I would go with Mareep every day of the week. I just like the fact it's an electric sheep. So do Pokemon, like when Pokemon are trying to go to sleep at night, do they just picture Mareep's like jumping over them? Here's the question: if you were to shear a Mareep's coat and take its wool and made a shirt or a giant Pokeball hoodie or something out of it, like this is 100% Mareep wool, would it be resistant to electricity? That's a question. Would it be an insulator? How would that even go? Or a conductor? I'm not sure how that would go, but you better shear the Mareep before it becomes an Ampharos, because at that point, what are you gonna do? What's next? Blossom! Blossom is up next. Okay, so this is one of the evolutions from Gloom, so Oddish, Gloom, and instead of Vileplume, you could have Blossom. It's okay. It's cool. It's Blossom. I think Blossom's actually like really tiny, right? Blossom's like a foot tall, if that. So it's like a tiny little pixie or fairy, and it's made of flowers, like Blossom, and it just does a little petal dance, and that's cool, I guess. Never had one, but it's cool. Next up is, it's Peekaboo! Peekaboo! We got Meryl and Azumarill. So this was something that did pop up on the playground a few times when I was in elementary school. People would say, because they actually had the internet and I didn't have the internet, so they would be like, hey, check it out. There's this new Pokemon that's coming out, and it's going to be called Peekaboo. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And I think right after that, not long after that, and they didn't have a picture of Meryl or anything, they just said there's going to be like a blue Pikachu. I saw it on the internet, man. It must be true. Shortly after that, I went to go see Pokemon the first movie, and as Pokemon the first movie, the beginning of the movie was Pikachu's vacation, and then that actually includes Snubbull as well as Meryl from Gen 2 there. And so I remember seeing it, and I think they call it Meryl in the shorts, so I'm like, oh, they got the name wrong, but they weren't kidding. Like, it's an actual Pokemon that at the time we still thought like you could unlock Meryl in Gen 1 or something like that, like that's a thing, but no, it was an interesting look into Gen 2 though, I have to say that. And Azumarill is okay. Azumarill is Meryl, just a little bit bigger with different ears, basically, so whatever. Azumarill's alright. Meryl's cool. Okay. Sudowoodo! It's a tree. I just love it's a tree, okay? So you run into Sudowoodo as early as Violet City, right? Because you could just keep going west from Violet City, and you just bump into a tree, and it just does like a little it's like, there's a tree blocking your path. And I'm just like, can I just move around it? Like there's so many trees blocking the path, I can't even squeeze through, right? So it's like, no, there's just a tree blocking your path. Maybe if you just spray it with water, maybe it'll... Man, the Pokemon games really don't make any sense, do they? Maybe if you spray it with water, it'll move. There's only one place in the game you can get a spray bottle. You can't just go and grab some water out of a pond and just toss it, or go into a house and just grab... Excuse me, sir, I just need to come into your house and get a cup of water really quick. All right there, little kid, just come into my house and do whatever. I'm like, all right, and just spray the freaking thing with water. You have to go to one place in the entire world that has a spray bottle to spray the damn thing with water. I'm like, all right, whatever. But when you finally reveal Sudowoodo, I always wanted to capture it. It's the only one in the game that you can capture without doing cheats or anything like that. Sometimes I was able to capture Sudowoodo, sometimes I wasn't. I remember being very perplexed that it was not a grass type, it was a rock type. It's a rock type that just mimics a tree, which doesn't seem to be like very advantageous in terms of like evolution in the Pokemon world. Like, because people tend to water plants, and water is a weakness for rock type Pokemon. So it's like, it will evolve to be a tree. I'm like, Not smart, but alright. That's Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo! It's pretty cool. It'll, like, just slap you with its leaves. Then we got Poliwag. Politoed! There we go! Politoed, right? Alright. So this one you actually did need to trade. And like we said last time, I didn't really have anybody to trade with, so that was sad. I couldn't get myself a Politoed, and I also couldn't get myself a Slowking, unfortunately. But Politoed, pretty cool. You get the little King Rock, I think, and you put it on the Poliwrath, and it evolves into a... No, Poliwhirl evolves into Politoed. You get a Politoed, that's cool. Which makes sense, given the fact that, you know, the whole idea with Poliwag is it was a tadpole, and it was a 3-evolution thing in Gen 1. You'd think that the natural evolution would be tadpole, bigger tadpole, frog? No, even fiercer, bigger tadpole. But no, they finally, Gen 2 is like, we should probably have it turn into a frog. That makes sense. Or a toad, I guess. So, yeah. Wait, do toads, wait, does it go into, like, a tadpole into a toad? Or tadpoles only frogs? What do you think, Shrog? Shrog. I'm like, alright, cool. Alright, so yeah, Politoad's pretty sweet. Okay, so next we have Hoppip's line. All right, that's cool. We got Hoppip, we got Skiploom, and we got Jumpluff. As a rule, I'm typically a fan of Pokemon that have, like, different color palettes with each evolution. So Hoppip is pink, and then Skiploom is green, and then Jumpluff is just blue. All right, and I like blue. Blue is probably my favorite color. I am blue, da-da-dee-da-do-do. I've had that song stuck in my head for, like, 2 weeks. Oh, God, and it's still going to be in there forever. I'm blue, da-da-dee-da-da-do. Okay, so anyway, yeah. Do I want to catch a Hoppip? Here's the question that, like, 8-year-old me has to answer. Do I want to catch a Hoppip and go through all of the trouble to evolve it into a Skiploom, and then go through all of the trouble again? Does it need a Leaf Stone or whatever? I don't think it does. To evolve it into a Jumpluff, because the Jumpluff does look pretty rewarding. It does look pretty cool, right? And the answer 8-year-old me made to that quandary was no. Don't have the time. Don't have the time to evolve a Hoppip. Hoppip just looks too stupid. Skiploom looks stupid. I'm not wasting my time to get a Jumpluff. So I never did. But Jumpluff, you are pretty cool. Hoppip and Skiploom, eh. Apom's up next. Okay, I love Apom. Apom always reminded me, remember the episode of SpongeBob where they go to Rock Bottom and they go to Glove World? Yeah, so that always reminded me of Apom because it has the glove that looks just like a latex glove you put over a monkey's tail. But it looks pretty cool. I think it appeared during the 3rd movie, the Entei movie. Probably the last Pokemon movie I saw in theaters, because I think the 4th one was in theaters for a little bit, the Celebi one, but not around here. So that was the last theatrical one I saw. But yeah, I think Ash had, like, met a female trainer that had an Apom as, like, her companion. Okay, so Apom was pretty funny in the movie, just like, you know, always smiling, always having a good time, and has a glove for a tail. So that's pretty cool for Apom. And then we have Sunkern and Sunflora. I like these two. I always try to catch a Sunkern, or I think you get the Sunstone for the bug catching contest at Goldenrod, but I think you can also catch a Sunkern in the park, right? Like, that's a thing. I know you get the Sunstone, and you use the Sunstone to evolve Sunkern into a Sunflora, and I think you use the Sunstone also to get a Blossom as well from Gloom as well. But I don't know if you catch Sunkern in the park. Regardless, whatever, I would always catch Sunkern. I just like the idea of a seed. It's just literally a seed Pokemon, but then it evolves into a Sunflower, which of course will know Solar Beam, which will of course nuke all of the opposition. So I like Sunkern and Sunflora there. Yanma. Yanma always fell into the category of, like, I don't remember ever running across one. Once again, it might have been in silver, not in gold, but I never remember running across a Yanma, or if I did, it was, like, so far into the game that I didn't want to catch one because I had to level it up. But I'm a fan of bugs. I like, you know, studying entomology and everything like that, and spiders and arachnids and everything. So I like studying that kind of stuff, so I like dragonflies. So for that reason, the dragonfly Pokemon just sounds awesome to me. Yanmega is so damn cool in Gen 4. I'm so glad they gave little Yanma a freaking evolution that's so badass, right? And so, yeah, but I don't remember ever catching one, but if it was made available early in the game, I would have definitely caught a Yanma and kept it with me. Kind of the same thing with Beedrill. Like, I kept Beedrill along for the ride as long as I could, until eventually it's just so weak to the other opposition, there's nothing that it can really do, even at higher levels, unless I get it to, like, absurd levels or whatever. But yeah, Yanma's always pretty cool. Wooper and Quagsire. I always thought, and I might not be the only one that thought this, did you think it went Wooper, Quagsire, Wobbuffet? Because I always thought that. I thought Wobbuffet looked like a natural evolution of Quagsire. But Wooper's cool. I remember catching Wooper a few times. So on the runs that I would catch a Cyndaquil, I need a good water type. And, you know, Meryl, and if Chinchou would be my first choice, but I don't think Chinchou's until a little later. So I would definitely go with a Wooper and then a Quagsire. And plus, you got the water ground, which makes mud. So that's something. Mud Slap. That was what I was thinking of. Mud Slap, baby. That's pretty cool. I like Quagsire. I like the episode in the anime. I think it was the last episode the GS ball was relevant. And okay, when you're a kid and you're watching cartoons, for some reason there's always one episode of a cartoon that you always end up catching, right? Like, that's always a thing. Somehow it's always a thing where every time you watch an episode of SpongeBob, it's like 9 times out of 10 it's like the same episode. Like, oh man, I've already seen this episode a million times. So with Pokemon, it was the Quagsire episode. I had it on VHS, but I remember just every time I tried to watch it on TV, it was always the Quagsire episode. Or if it was like a marathon, I'd always catch the Quagsire episode somehow, right? And so I remember it very well, and I remember the GS ball that, you know, it's stolen everything. And that was like the last time it was relevant before it just disappeared into the ether. So yeah, Quagsire, keep it up. Then we got the new Eeveelutions. We got Espeon and we got Umbreon. Umbreon is my favorite for days. Espeon is cool too, a psychic cat dog thing. That's fine. But Umbreon, you know, black with like the glowing yellow rings, like they glow at night. I remember Gary had an Umbreon. If you look into the Pokédex lore, it says like it drips poison, like it sweats poison to keep like enemies or like its attackers away or whatever. So that's cool. It's not a poison type, but it's cool. You know, it could have been like dark poison. I think that would have been awesome, you know, before Toxicroak was a thing. But anyway, yeah, Umbreon is simply the coolest. And so Umbreon, I'll always love you, as my favorite Eeveelution. Then we have Murkrow. I like Honchkrow more. Honchkrow just with the large like plumage it gets and everything like that, and the hat it kind of gets. But you know, Murkrow is neat as well. Dark types were introduced here. So which dark types do we really have? We got Umbreon, we got Murkrow, and then just Houndoom and Houndour, right? And I think those are the only dark types we got. Sneasel as well. We got Sneasel as well. But other than, wait, is Sneasel a dark type? Yeah, it's a dark type. Yeah, I know Weevil is a dark type, but I think it's an ice dark. Yeah, Sneasel is still dark. So yeah, those are your dark types for Gen 2. And I really liked the Steel and Dark. I thought those were the coolest sounding type names. So it's like, oh, we're getting 2 new types. Steel, ooh, and Dark. Ooh, that sounds awesome. You know, and so I think I caught a Murkrow a few times for that reason. But then Honchkrow was just cooler in Gen 4. And then we have Slowking. Unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to get a Slowking because I never had anybody to trade with. But, you know, and if I did, I don't even know if I would have went through the trouble of evolving Slowpoke into Slowbro to get a Slowking. But yeah, I like Slowking's appearance in the second movie. The second movie came out in the year 2000, and that was before I got the game still. So yeah, that's crazy. Wow. I went like 2 years just watching the anime and the movies without even playing a single Pokemon game, because Gold was the first game I ever played. I remember that. So yeah, that would have been, yeah, when I was 8 in 2001 when that came out. So yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, yeah, Slowking's pretty sweet. I like in the second movie. It can talk, so like Meowth. Although, unlike Meowth, it really does seem like Slowbro's evolution into Slowking made it smart enough as a psychic type for it to actually speak. And it probably is even more intelligent than humans, you know? It's just like, ah yes, I am Slowking. I am more intelligent than you pathetic humans. But I'm just not really interested in doing much, so I'm just gonna chill out here. You know, I could change the world if I wanted, but you know, so that's Slowking. Misdreavus. Alright, okay. Gen 2 introduces Morty. Morty, what are you doing, Morty? The Ghost Gym Leader. The first Ghost Gym Leader in the entire freaking franchise in Ecruteak City. Cool. There is one full Ghost-type Pokemon in the game at this point. There's only one. Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar are all poison ghosts. Misdreavus is the first pure ghost. Does Morty have a Misdreavus? Nope. What does he have? Actually, what does he have? I actually don't know what Morty has. What's Morty's layout for Gold and Silver? Let me check this. Okay, so his layout is actually pretty respectable. It's not like he doesn't use ghost types. He does have a Ghastly, he's got 2 Haunters, and he's got a Gengar, which is cool. It's seeing a Gengar, only the 4th gym leader. That's cool, but like, come on, man. Does he get it in Crystal? I don't think he even had it in Crystal. In Crystal, Oh, wait, no, that is Crystal. It doesn't change between games. All right. And then in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, he still doesn't have one. Does Morty ever use a damn Mischievous? Okay, in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, when you rematch him at the Fighting Dojo, he has a Miss Magius, or whatever, how you pronounce that. A evolved form of Mischievous. But never uses a damn Mischievous, does he? Man, Morty... What are you doing? What are you doing, Morty? You're not even using a freaking ghost-type Pokemon in the generation. You only have one. You only had one Pokemon, Morty. You only had one option, Morty. What are you doing, Morty? That has been Tekking101's Rick impressions, so enjoy. All right, what's up next? Okay, so after Mischievous, by the way, I like Mischievous. Mischievous is so cool. The Pokemon that don't get spotlighted that much are the ones I ended up liking a lot. All right, what's next? Oh, god damn it. All right, oh. All right. So, I have Pokemon Gold. I'm a kid. It's the weekend. I don't got much going on. I can't drive. I live out in a tiny mountain village where it's rainy and cold 90% of the time, so, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna play my game, right? I'm gonna have my little Pokemon, I'm gonna have my Game Boy, and I'm gonna have Pokemon Gold, and I'm gonna be in the ruins of Alph. And it's kind of just like the whole situation with Shuckle. I made a video about that a couple years ago where I was talking about the Shuckle situation where there was... I beat the game. I beat the Elite Four twice. I defeated Red atop Mount Silver. And I was still looking for stuff to do in the game. I was like, there has to be more stuff to do. There has to be more Pokemon. There has to be, like, secret Pokemon that I don't know about somewhere in the game, right? And so... one of them was like there was a guy in Cyanwood Town that would be like, hey, if you just keep rock smashing the rocks around town, there's like Pokemon that'll hide inside, or like there was rare Pokemon. And I kept thinking if I kept smashing rocks, I'll run into a Mew or something. So I spent days and days and days smashing rock after rock after rock. I actually discovered my first shiny, a shiny Shuckle, which I just immediately ran from because I was so used to like smash, Shuckle, run, smash. Okay, that's smash, Shuckle, run, smash, Shuckle, run. And I saw a shiny, but I had no idea what a shiny was, and I just hit run, and I'm like, was that Shuckle blue? Whatever. Smash, Shuckle, run. That's what I did. Okay, so another thing that I did, though, was in the ruins of Alph. I'm like, hey, if I find every single unknown letter, I gotta get something cool, right? There has to be something cool. And I don't remember if I ever did. Is it possible to get all unknown letters with just a version of gold? Because I would feel with 26 variants, I think they later added the exclamation point and the question mark in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I think it was just the 26 letters of the Latin alphabet in that particular region from A to Z. So if it's not possible, then I didn't do it. But if it was possible, I might have remembered, like, collecting all the unknown letters, and you give that little like unknown dex, like the unknown Pokedex. They're like, okay, I got all of them, and I'm like, okay, what do I get? Do I get something cool? And like nothing, and it's just like, oh, good job. I'm like, aren't you gonna give me something cool? Like, do the unknowns like combine into like a super unknown or something, like Alphabet Man or something? Like, I don't know, like something cool, like Voltron? No, they don't. So you're just running around the ruins of Alph like an idiot for days on end, trying to capture every single unknown letter. All along with that stupid theme is playing. You know the one. The ruins of Alph theme. You know the one. Yeah. So anyway, that's unknown. Then we have Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet I love. I love Wobbuffet. I love that Team Rocket. I love Jesse got a Wobbuffet. I love the concept of Wobbuffet knowing Mirror Coat and Counter. So it's like the ultimate counter Pokemon. It's invincible. You can't defeat it, okay? Yeah, there's just nothing you can do, because if you try to attack it physically, it'll use Counter, and if you try to attack it with a special attack, it knows Mirror Coat. How are you supposed to defeat that? Seriously. Pokemon champions right now. I'm sure there are plenty of people that are like champions of Pokemon worldwide that are playing the games competitively or whatever, and you're watching this right now, and you're just like, yep, Tekking said it right there. You can't defeat a Wobbuffet. If your opponent throws out a Wobbuffet at a Worlds or whatever, you're done. You're just dead. There's nothing you can do. So, game over, man. Game over. Plus, it knows Destiny Bond if it was just to make sure you die, right? So, yeah. Wobbuffet is pretty terrifying when you do a Nuzlocke. I will say that. When you run into a Wobbuffet, it's like, shit, Shadow Tag, Destiny Bond, not goods with the counters and the mirror coats, okay? So, yeah, but I like Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet! All right, moving on. We have Drafarig. Drafarig's all right. Later in the game, you run into Drafarig around, like, you run into it around Mahogany Town, right? Like heading to the Lake of Rage, that little route, I think is where you get to Drafarigs. I like the fact that it's like, I think the original concept art had just two heads, like two normal heads. Like it's basically like Cat Dog, essentially, but it's giraffe, where you have like a giraffe and then the inverted color scheme for the opposite end. And then they changed it to just like a little tail ball thing, which is similar to Spinarak, which like, it looks like a face, but it's not. At least I don't think it's a face. Can the tail bite you? I don't think it can. But Girafarig, I never caught one, but I thought it looked okay. Pineco and Fortress. I love saying it, Fortress. Yeah, okay? So, Pineco is a pine cone. One of the more standard names there. And then you get to Fortress, which is just a heavily armored shell Pokemon that explodes. So very much like Graveler or Voltorb's line and Electrode and, you know, the Pokemon that just blow up when they get really close to you and whatever. So, yeah, Fortress is neat. Plus the super high defense stat is handy. Kind of like the Cloyster of Gen 2. Then we have Dunsparce. Aw. Poor Dunsparce. Dunsparce will never... Let's all have just a moment of silence for Dunsparce. Dunsparce will never get an evolution. Or a pre-evolution. Dunsparce will never get a mega evolution. Dunsparce will never have a special, like, Z move or whatever extra Gigantamax Dunsparce or whatever they're going to do in the later generations. Dunsparce is never going to get any of that. Why would he? He's freaking Dunsparce. He just sits on the ground and just tries in vain to fly, but it can't. Its wings are too small. I want to just picture something. Just picture Dunsparce, this like Tsuchinoko little guy on the ground, and just bzzz, 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 falls upside down. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. Stuck in a dark, dank cave its entire life where no light shines. Can barely see, probably. That's its life. And it uses its tail to, like, burrow underground, but it can't even do that well. Next time I play Pokemon, I'm gonna have a team of 6 Dunsparces. I'm gonna do it. All Dunsparce run. I'm gonna hack the game. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna do a little thing or whatever. I'm gonna get a team of 6 Dunsparces, or the only Pokemon I can catch is Dunsparce. And I'm gonna train them up. I'm gonna train them up, and I'm gonna beat that game with 6 Dunsparces. It deserves it. Freaking deserves it. What's next? Oh, Gliger! Oh, man, Gliger is so awesome, right? It's a freaking scorpion that flies and, like, stings you. It's like a vampire bat scorpion. Love it. And then it turns into a steel type. It might be a steel type in Gen 2. I don't know. I'm not really great with Pokemon types, as we know. But it was like, Gleisker later, like a steel vampire bat scorpion. It's awesome! So, yeah, that's, it's Gliger. Pretty cool. Like Gliger. Then we have Stelix. Stelix is cool. I actually have around here in my room 3 Pokemon cards that I saved when I was a kid. There is a holographic Chansey, holographic Poliwrath, and a holographic Stelix. And I have a story about this, okay? This is great. I remember this, okay? So I had a friend named Ian that lived down the street from me growing up, and we both really were way into Pokemon when it hit big, okay? So we're always into Pokemon. And we're always talking about how, oh man, I got this Pokemon in the game, or I got this card in the pack, or whatever, okay? So one day, I called Ian up and I told him, I lied. I told him I got a pack today with a holographic Stelix. I got Stelix today. And he's just like, oh man, I want to see it later. And he's just like, yeah, I could come down tomorrow and I could show you. And I was just going to say, I lied. I didn't have it. You know, I was just joking around with him. Later that day, me and my dad went to Walmart and he bought me a pack of Pokemon cards. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be weird if I ended up getting a Stelix and I opened the pack and I still have it. Actually, I'll show you. I'll show it to you. Hold on. Okay, so I got all 3 here. So I have the Chansey. Here you go, the Chansey. And underneath the Chansey, I actually have the Poliwrath. I don't know why. I think I ran out of card sleeves, so I just threw them in there together. So that's probably safe, right? They're probably good in value in that point. And then I have, well, this is a Ghost Rare Yu-Gi-Oh card I got just a few months ago. And then here it is. Here Here it is. Holographic Stelix I still have to this day. This is worth. It's, I actually don't know. It doesn't say first edition. I don't know if in Pokemon. I think it's supposed to say first edition over here, if it's a first edition. But it has a double star thing, so how much is that worth? I don't know, but I have it. I know that much. Stelix is pretty cool. Could never get one because it didn't have anybody to trade with, but, you know, it's cool. You know what? I don't regret Stelix that much because you do get to see Stelix. Jasmine has a Stelix, a Magnemite and a Stelix. She throws out a little tiny magnet and it's like, okay, here you go. Oh, you defeated my Magnemite? Oh, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Stelix, go! And then that wrecks your shit up for the first few times you have to fight her. But anyway, yeah, Stelix is cool, but Scissor is cooler. Scissor was always my Metal Coat candidate if I ever had someone to trade with, but I didn't, so unfortunately. And I don't think there's a single trainer that uses a Scissor in the game. Probably wrong on that, of course, but I remember seeing Stelix. I don't remember seeing Scissor. Then Snubble, and Grumble. I remember the episode where there was, like, some really, like, aristocratic, like, fancy, like, you know, noble kind of lady, and she was, like, had a pet Snubble. Like, come along, Snubble. Snubble. And there was, like, a whole episode with that. It was one of the first episodes of the anime, I think, of Johto. And never cared for the episode, so I didn't really care for Snubble. Snubble's all right. He's a fairy Pokemon right now, so that's nice. Gramble's nice. And it's just a really dangerous kind of bulldog Pokemon that'll, like, bite you. And that's cool, I guess. Bulldogs are actually really adorable. I love bulldogs. Quillfish. Kind of the tentacle of this generation, right? I mean, like, it's a Quillfish. It's not super great. It's just it's a pufferfish. Never caught one. Scissor, badass. I mean, you take Scyther, who's already got scythe blades for hands, and then you add, like a coating of metal or something, and then, boom, it turns into a damn cyborg robot android with giant, like, claws. Scissor! Just slices you apart. Had a and Scissor, like, man, I'm looking through all these Pokemon in Gen 2, and I like a lot of them. I'm hesitant to say Scissor is my favorite, but definitely in the top 3. Because there are 2 other Pokemon on here that we're coming up to that I think I like maybe as much or more than Scissor, but yeah. Then we have Shuckle, the ultimate defensive sponge, basically. High defense, high special defense. In exchange, it's weak and everything else, but it's a Shuckle. So you just power trick and everything, or do the move that flips the attack and defense, and then boom! Devastating power, the likes of which you've never Shuckled before. I already told the story about Shuckle, and I have a whole video about it, actually. But yeah, Shuckle is, he's Shuckle. He's cool. You can't help but not like Shuckle. I like the, oh, what was it? It was like a comedy channel that did like these little skits of Pokemon. Dookie Shed. That was it. Dookie Shed. So one time, me and my one friend were driving back from an anime convention, and he told me, like, hey man, have you heard about, like, we were talking about Pokemon, and he brought up these videos, Dookie Shed, and so we started watching them in the car, because I'd never seen them before, and I almost had to, like, pull over on the side of the road. I was laughing so goddamn hard. I was driving, and I'm just like, oh my god, these are so hilarious. And so the one of them is like, don't fuckle with Shuckle, and I'm like, yeah, you don't, it's Shuckle. So yeah, that's all you say, man. You don't mess with them. Heracross. I like Heracross. Heracross is pretty cool. Is one of the other ones I really liked. Heracross, Mega Heracross is sweet. Yeah, I like the fact that it likes sap in the anime. That was an interesting character trait, I guess. I mean, they're Pokemon and not all of them can talk, so you kind of have to have interesting character traits. So Chickarita really liked Ash, and Heracross really liked tree sap. So way to go, Heracross. But hey, I like the Hercules beetle design. I like bug types as standard. I think we all know that at this point. So way to go, Heracross. Keep it up, man. Hey guys, how you doing? Editing Tekking here. Just letting you know from this point onward throughout the video, there's a few audio glitches where my voice just cuts out. This is a problem I encounter every now and then, but it seems to happen a lot with longer videos, like when I'm filming for like over an hour, you know, near the end, the audio cuts out. I don't think it's an issue with my mic. It might be something else with like XSplit or something. I'm not 100% sure. Just letting you know in advance, it's not YouTube or your computer, it's me. Sneasel! Sneasel's pretty sweet. I like Weevil more, Weavile more. Sneasel never really struck me as an ice type, so whenever I run into the ice caverns and you run into Sneasel, did I run into the... Sneasel at Ice Caverns? I don't know. But Sneasel's pretty sweet, and it has the giant claws that'll just shred you apart. You know, pretty cool Pokemon there. Teddiursa and Ursaring, you don't run into them, I think, until you're leaving Blackthorn, going down the mountain back to Newbark Town to kind of loop around the map. I don't think that's, you don't run into them before that, or at least you don't run into Ursaring before that. So you're literally just a kid walking through the mountains, and you just run into a bear. It's just like, bear! I'm like, ugh! So yeah, that's terrifying. Ursaring's sweet. It can know Hyper Beam and everything like that. I think I caught an Ursaring once. But yeah, other than that, it's just a bear. It's a pretty damn cool bear, but it's a bear. Also, it has a giant target on its chest. I think because Teddiursa, of course, has the Ursa, so Teddy is the moon. Then we have Slugma, and we have Macargo. I love that name, Macargo. It's like escargot, but Macargo. So, Slugma, he's just a sentient blob of lava, right? Actually, when lava's beneath the ground, it's magma, but he is above the ground. So I guess, well, okay, if you have a Slugma above the ground, I guess it's a lava Pokemon, but if you take him underneath the ground in a cave or something, I guess he's a magma Pokemon. Yes. But yeah, he's just a sentient ball of lava. How does this work in the Pokemon world? Like, seriously, how does a sentient glob of lava or magma become sentient? Like, how does it work? I don't know, but it's a thing. And then Macargo gets a cool shell, like a snail, little snail boy, so that's neat, and little sparks of fire shooting out. I mean, it's a pretty solid fire type if you're gonna go with the Totodile line. I mean, he's like, hey man, you need a fire type? I'll tell you right now, this Slugma right here will get 5 fire blasts to the gallon. Yeah, it is the coolest fire type. And I also think in the Pokedex, it does actually say, unless Slugma keeps moving, it will literally turn, like, it will cool down and turn into rock, and then it'll just crumble apart and die. So that's sad. And I think maybe that's what happened to part of it. It kind of stopped, and it had the shell, and it's like, oh shit, need to keep moving. You know, that's how it goes. Oh, there's a Swinub and Piloswine. All right, I like these guys. You know, he's basically, and I'm not even exaggerating here, he's the frozen bacon Pokemon. You go into a frozen aisle at a grocery store, frozen bacon, you'll see Swinub in the cooler, like, Swinub, how you doing? And then Piloswine is so cool, too. Piloswine looks like a Pokemon an old dude like Pryce would have. And I think there was even a plot in the anime where Pryce, you know, he's, you know, lost his old Piloswine in the ice cavern or whatever, and he's, like, cryogenically frozen in the ice, and you had to dig him out, and they're reunited or whatever. But Piloswine just looks like an old school Pokemon, really old dude that's just like, poof. He has like the hair covering his eyes. Like, you know what? You guys know Sam Elliott, the mustache dude from The Big Lebowski? You know, that guy? You know, the most cowboy actor ever? If Sam Elliott was a Pokemon trainer, he would have a Piloswine. Absolutely. Corsola. Corsola is okay until they had an undead zombie version of it later on in, I think, Gen 7. But yeah, Corsola's cool, I guess, until it becomes a symbol for the dying coral reefs around the world and the dangers of pollution. Now, that's an important thing. People need to know about the dangers of pollution. That's really bad. But it's like, holy crap, Pokemon. You know, like, holy shit, right? Okay, that's terrifying. It's the husk of a dead piece of coral. Oh god, we need to start cleaning up our oceans, right? But Corsola's sweet. Alright, I remember Misty had one. Remoraid. Remoraid and Mantine are cool because they're like Pokemon that team up, like the Remoraid like sail like pilot fish along with the Mantine, and that's pretty cool. It's like the Mantine can fire them like torpedoes, sort of. I always thought that was really neat. Why does Remoraid evolve into an octopus? Can anybody explain that to me, please? Now listen, controversial judgment call. My favorite Pokemon from Gen 2 is Delibird. No, it is Octillery. I always, I don't remember running into Octillery very much in the game, so it was like a mysterious Pokemon to me. That kind of raised its stock a bit, kind of similar to Porygon from Gen 1. I never had a Porygon in Gen 1 because the way to get it was so rare, but that made it was so hard with the game corner, but it made it so much more, like, mysterious to me, right? I'm running into freaking Sentrits and Quillfish wherever I go, but freaking Octillery's not running into a lot of them. And so I like the color with the red and the yellow, and I like the fact it has, like, Octazooka is the name of its signature move. Octazooka? Come on now, right? Octillery, probably my favorite out of Gen 2. Or rather, at the very least, my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon that does not is not an evolution or a pre-evolution of any other Gen 1 Pokemon, okay? Because Porygon 2, Porygon is my favorite overall, so I really like Porygon 2 as well. And Scissor is cool, but evolved from Scyther. Steelix is cool, evolved from Onix, right? But Octillery, new to Gen 2, I like Octillery. Then we get to Delibird. You know what? You can't be mad at Delibird. You can, alright? He's trying. He's trying. He's the damn Pokemon that's like, hey, look, guys, I don't want to fight. I just want to hand out presents. Can't you just let me hand out presents? I'm like Santa. You know, Delibird's just walking down the street and just like, hey, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? Here's a present. Have a good day. Have a good one. And trying to put a smile on people's faces. That's all Delibird's trying to do, all right? And he's shit on constantly. I love you, Delibird. I love you. You keep on doing what you're doing, Delibird. Then we get to Mantine, who I said, it's cool. It's a manta ray Pokemon. I like the pilot fish, you know, Remoraid with it. Never caught one myself, but nothing against it. Skarmory. Ooh, that's a good one. Skarmory. Steel flying. I'm not even sure how that works, but razor-edged blade bird that just shreds you apart with its steel wings. And I don't even think, could you learn Steel Wing in Gen 2? Or was that a Gen 3 thing? I know Iron Tail was a Gen 3 thing, so maybe Steel Wing was Gen 2? I don't know. But Skarmory's pretty badass. Then we have Houndour and Houndoom. Or, if you want to go with the Japanese name, Houndoom is Helgar. I remember that. I made a video on like weird Pokemon like translations, and I remember Houndoom was Helgar. They should have just kept that in the translation, even if, you know, you can't put hell into a kid's game. It's like, oh, we can now if it's badass enough. So we got Houndoom and Houndour. I had them a few times. Dark fire types, dogs, cool dog, Pokemon. Is Eevee supposed to be a dog or a fox? I'm not really sure, but I know Houndoom is awesome, and so I'm going to go with Houndoom any day of the week. It's a pretty edgy kind of Pokemon with the skulls and everything, and, you know, the dark fire of hell itself, but you can't not like Houndoom. Then we have Kingdra. Kingdra I never had myself. I think the King Rock as well was with that. Wait, so is the King Rock with Politoed, Slowking, and Kingdra? You could use 3 Pokemon with the King Rock, or am I missing one, or am I mixing one up? I don't remember. Anyway, Kingdra's pretty cool. It's a straight-up dragon, which makes sense because it evolves from the seahorse, which is supposed in Japanese myth supposed to be a dragon. If you've ever seen Fruits Basket with you know, the dragon of the zodiac there, Hattori, it's the same thing situation with that. So yeah, it made sense. Kind of the same thing. Like, hey, we should have these tadpoles finally evolve into like a frog or a toad or something. We should probably have the seahorses finally evolve into a goddamn Kingdra, a dragon type, right? So there we go. We got Fanfy and Donphan. All right, those are pretty cool. I like the Donphan can literally turn into just like a rolling death freaking tire at any given time and just rolling up and down the mountains. We needed an elephant Pokemon, and I think these two fit the bill pretty well. I like Fanfy and Donphan. Then we get to Porygon 2. Porygon 2, when he gets the upgrade disc, couldn't get it, but upgrade disc into Porygon 2, smooths out the graphics a little bit, makes it a little bit more, you know, futuristic at the time with the evolution of like Pokemon technology, video game technology. It would make sense that Porygon would also evolve along the way. Porygon 2, can't show up in the anime. And Porygon Z, oh, don't even think about it. That was probably the inspiration for it. One of those things like a desk toy you put on the mouth goes like this and sucks up the water. Probably that's the basis because it looks like a dead ringer from one of those. Stantler, you know what? There was an episode with Stantler in the anime, and then you do run across it in the games a few times, but yeah, it's just a deer or like an elk kind of Pokemon, or a moose or something. I think it's a moose. It kind of looks like a moose. The face is kind of moose-esque. Schmurgle! I love Schmurgle. I love Schmurgle. He can learn any move and actually keep them, other than like Ditto that does transform and like after the battle's over, it resets. But with Schmurgle's sketch ability, you can learn any move and then it stays there, and then just every, I think, 10 levels, like level 1, level 11, 21, and so on, it just learns it learns sketch again, and so you can keep replacing them, but once you used it, it's a one and done, and it just replaces that with a new move. So I like the concept for Schmurgle, and I know there's people that have done like Let's Plays, like a full Schmurgle run or whatever, like just a Schmurgle. Then we have Tyrogue. Tyrogue is the name, I guess. Yeah, Tyrogue, the pre-evolution of Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, or Hitmontop. Hitmontop is next after Tyrogue. That's cool. I like the idea of having, you know, this is a Tyrogue, you know, get to level 20, and depending if the attack stat is higher, Hitmonchan, if the defense stat is higher, Hitmonlee, and if the stats are balanced, I'm not sure if that's hard to do, to balance them, if it's possible to do that, or it's super hard or super easy. easy, but then you get a Hitmontop, and Hitmontop was pretty cool. Does Hitmontop have to spin all the time on its head? It doesn't look like it can really stand up with its legs because it's got spikes sticking out of them. So I guess Hitmontop, in order to go anywhere at any time, has to be constantly spinning on its head. So that's sad. I'm sorry, Hitmontop. That seems like a lot of stuff you have to go through. I'm sorry, dude. Like I said, same deal with baby Pokemon. You know, I never really had them in the games, so whatever. But anyway, moving on. Then we have I like the evolutions like Electivire and Magmortar later on when we had you know, the Gen 4 and we had all like the Electivizer and the Magmarizer and everything. I like those, but you know, the babies are just like eh. Okay, then we have Miltank. Oh, Miltank will wreck your shit. Moo! Over, yeah. You get to Whitney, and that is when you learn pain. Has anyone out there actually defeated Whitney on the first try? I feel, you know what? Good for you, but you do not know the pain. If you actually managed to, like, maybe over-level your Pokemon, or you were just lucky, and you got to Whitney, and you just beat Miltank, maybe the Miltank made stupid moves, or you just got lucky, and it kept missing, and you kept winning. Like, it tried roll out once and missed, and you just wrecked its shit, and it's like, oh, okay, that's one, I got the badge, awesome. Meanwhile, everybody else is just like, Miltank! It took me a good few tries my first time through Gold to beat Miltank. It was very, very frustrating, but I made it through. Then we get to, Blissey. That's cool. I remember the episode with, Jessie going to school to become a Pokemon nurse, but she went to Chansey's school instead for some reason, and there was a Blissey there, or there was a Chansey there that she befriended, and it eventually evolved into a Blissey, and there was, like, a nice little relationship between Jessie and the Blissey there when Jessie wanted to be a nurse. So that was pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, so Blissey's nice. Just an absolute tank of a Pokemon, really. The defensive stats are off the charts, and then the HP is massive. I think Blissey might have the most HP out of any Pokemon. I might be wrong on that. Probably am, because I don't really do a lot of research. I'm not an expert on this franchise. But I like Pokemon, and that's all that matters, right? Okay, getting into the legendary doggies now. We have Raikou! That's my favorite. Entei and Suicune. I like Crystal. You know, I played Crystal as well. Entei was alright. I like the movie, but I really wish the movie was focused on Raikou instead. Entei's like, alright, but like Raikou's cooler. It's got a damn thunderbolt for a tail. Why wouldn't I like that? And like the clouds, and like it's a storm dog. What does Entei do? Just kind of run around and start fires, I guess? You know, what does Suicune do? Purify water? Raikou's literally like the Zeus of his generation, so keep it up, Raikou. I love you, man. And that's the one, of course. Yeah, Entei gets a whole theatrical movie. Suicune gets a whole damn game. The fuck does Raikou get? Jack shit. That's what Raikou gets. Yeah, alright. So, yeah. We're near the end of the video. I can curse more. Finally, we get to Larvitar, Pupitar, and Tyranitar. Tyranitar, I don't think is that big, but I feel like it should be the size of Godzilla. Do you feel like Tyranitar should be the size of Godzilla? I feel like it should be, like a legitimate kaiju. I guess that would be kind of broken if it's like Ash catches a freaking Tyranitar or evolves as Larvitar and just like, okay, Ash, well, welcome to the Elite Four. Here's my Houndoom. You know, just like, okay, here's Tyranitar. Boom! Just steps on it. Well, here you go, you win. I hated. You cannot catch Larvitar until the freaking post-game. You get to Mount Silver and you finally catch the damn thing and it's like, oh great, caught a level 5 Larvitar. That's awesome. I've already defeated the Elite Four twice to get here. I gotta go all the way up. I guess I could train Larvitar. I could waste 50 levels to get up to Tyranitar to fight against Ash or Red in like an ultimate final battle, but I don't got that time, alright? So whatever. I like Pupitar kind of the best, because Pupitar being, you know, a pupa makes sense, even though it's like a kaiju kind of dragon dinosaur thing, and yet it has a pupil stage like an insect. I don't know, but it turns into Tyranitar, which is a kaiju, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. So I like Larvitar. I just wish you could catch it earlier. I think when we were playing, when I was doing Pokemon, not Prism. Yeah, no, yeah, it was Prism. Pokemon Prism, with Briar, the vampire. We had Larvitar as our starter, and unfortunately died. It was Larva Croft, I think was our name or whatever. Yeah, because it was like a female Larvitar. I just named Larva Croft, you know, so that was neat. But unfortunately, we lost it halfway through, so sorry, Lara Croft. And then finally, we get to the legendary birds again, I guess. We got Lugia, and then we got Ho-Ho. And we got Celebi. I actually did have the Celebi plushie, but I didn't bring it up here. Oh, whatever. We're near the end. I'm not going down to get it. All right, so since I always played Gold, I always caught Ho-Ho first. Ho-Ho was very elegant with the rainbow bird. I always liked the feather you get that can revive other Pokemon. That was cool, the rainbow feather. So Ho-Ho is fine, and I rode on that Ho-Ho path for so long. I'm like, I caught Ho-Ho, and that was like my lead Pokemon, even more than my Typhlosion. So it's just like Sacred Fire everything. Sacred Fire, do everything you can with Sacred Fire. Okay, but then you get to Lugia. And you have to go all... I always thought Lugia was way more mysterious, because you have to go all the way, you have to navigate... Ho-Ho is fairly easy to get in contact with, but then with Lugia, you got to go all the way down through the Whirl Islands and the caves, and it's very complicated unless you have a freaking map. You finally make it all the way to the bottom, and you see Lugia. Lugia, I just remember, it might have been gold, it might have been crystal, I don't remember. I just remember... going to, I was the post game at this point. Like, Lugia was like the last thing I had to do was catch. And so I went to the mall and I bought like, I maxed out as many Pokeballs as I could get. I got like 99 Pokeballs and got like, 30 Ultra Balls, like 60 Great Balls. I spent like all the money I had. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the Whirl Islands and I'm catching that damn Lugia, right? So I go down to the Whirl Islands, I fight Lugia, and I just remember, this day. I remember my mom and my dad were in the kitchen and they were like, getting dinner ready or whatever. And I'm in there and I'm like, okay, yeah, I should be able to catch Lugia and I can come because dinner's ready in like half an hour. And I'm like, okay. I went through every single Pokeball, every single one. I tapped out, all 99. Would not catch this damn Lugia. Got him down to 1 HP, paralyzed him, wouldn't work, wouldn't get caught. And then I remember my parents are like, come on and eat. And I'm just like, no, it's personal now. I'm catching this damn Lugia. So, yeah, I remember Lugia with that. That was pretty imposing. And, of course, the second movie, Pokemon 2000, which has a talking psychic Lugia. That was nice. Lugia I always liked. I liked, what was the name of Lugia's signature move? It was like Hydro Blast or something, right? It was a really cool name. Hydro Burst or whatever it was. Whatever it was really cool. I don't remember because it wasn't the Pokemon I always caught. It wasn't a Ho-Ho. It wasn't no Sacred Flame or Sacred Fire, but it was cool. So then finally we end out with Celebi, who also got a movie. Wow, okay, so wow, Gen 2 was the movie generation. Celebi got a movie, Lugia got a movie, Entei got a movie. Yeah, wow, we got a lot of movies here. Yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, yeah, Celebi, the time-traveling Pokemon. I like the fourth movie. I like the dark balls and the evil versions of the Pokemon and the whole Professor Oak plot that kind of circles back around. I thought that was pretty cool. It actually added to the lore a lot in the series. I didn't see it until years after it came out in theaters. I think it only had a limited theatrical run. But yeah, it just sucks that you never had anything in the anime with it, and the GS ball was just scrapped because it's like, well, we were going to do, I think we were going to do a movie tie-in, but then they decided not to, and they just like, let's just do the movie. Anyway, those are all 100 Pokemon from Gen 2. Oh, I'm tired and hungry. I didn't eat dinner before I did this. Okay, well, I'm gonna go order some food, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Next time, oh, look what I have over here. Next time, we're gonna go with Generation 3, I guess. I don't know if I'm gonna do any more beyond that, but next time, we're gonna do some Mudkips. I heard you like Mudkips. See ya, everybody!